Welcome into The Scoop, the number one, the premier UNC football recruiting podcast in the world, part of the Inside Carolina Podcast Network. And as always, we are sponsored by Johnny T-Shirt and GiantT-Shirt.com, the best and most local place to get all your UNC apparel and gear. I'm your host, Ross Martin. As always, I'm joined by Donnie Scoops Callahan. What's going on, Don?
Not too much. I am excited that the hockey season begins tomorrow. We're recording on Tuesday, right? Yeah, today's Tuesday. It's tomorrow. Are you going to be watching? Flyers play at 5:30 on national television. Are you going to watch, Ross?
I will not be watching any hockey. I may watch playoffs if the Hurricanes or Predators get there. Low-key Predators fan.
Oh, man, you need to be a low-key Flyers fan.
Did you watch the national championship game last night?
I did.
Let's talk about it.
Yeah, let's. You and I spoke real quickly beforehand, and I was completely wrong with my my prediction, or just I guess my evaluation of what could potentially happen.
Yeah, I put a little money on Ohio State.
Me too.
Bama blowout. I mean, It's just there's so much parity in college football. There's not any parity in college football now.
Yeah.
I mean, it's Bama, it's Clemson, it's Ohio State. You saw that Clemson got whooped by Ohio State, and then Bama just went and whooped the Buckeyes. So there's only three dominant teams, and I think behind them is Notre Dame, is Oklahoma, is
how about Notre Dame though?
Florida. There's not much parity.
Everybody got on Notre Dame. Obviously, Notre Dame's not in that first tier, but everybody got on Notre Dame. But their defense seemed to, quote unquote, handle Alabama as much as anyone really did. Their offense, that is, because it seemed like Ohio
Notre
State,
Dame's offense against Bama.
Notre Dame's defense seemed to. I wouldn't say handle, but they did probably one of the better jobs against Alabama's offense than anyone. Ohio State has just as many NFL guys on their defense, and it seemed like Alabama just scored at will during that game.
Yeah, the talent, the skill talent. I've been listening to some stuff recently. The skill talent that Alabama has is next level, and I think that Steve Sarkisian, he called a great game.
Yeah.
You kind of think he is an excellent play caller, maybe better suited for the NFL than maybe a head coaching job at a place like Texas, where it's not as much play calling as is CEO and management and politics. Yeah. But we'll see how he does at Texas, which is always intriguing to see with the coaching change there. Of course, taking over, I guess now 3 coaches removed from Mac Brown. Do you think college football is reaching a point now where it's going to lose some fans because of the dominance of one or two teams?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely possible, because it's not just the fact that it's just 2 or 3 teams. It's the fact that it's so regionalized to the Southeast.
Yeah.
You have Ohio State in the Midwest, but the West Coast just has no one. Oregon a little bit, but every time they show any sort of promise, they fall flat in their face. Same thing with USC. And I think that really hurts the game. And I think the only solution is to expand the playoffs so that you're including more teams from throughout the nation.
Yeah, and I think, Notre Dame being good is good for college football. Ohio State being good, Texas, USC, at least that way you have, a Big 12 representative, a Pac-12, is it Pac-10, Pac-12, whatever, USC, and then Ohio State, Notre Dame, and then, you have kind of a representative from each conference that can at least compete. We have a great podcast plan. It's been in the works for about 2 or 3 weeks now. We're bringing on Coach Glover, Deon Glover, Tony Grimes' dad, to just recap the 2020 season, to talk about UNC's 2 commitments for the 2022 class, and overall just kind of talk about the state of UNC football and what he's got going on. We had him on before, so he's now a reoccurring guest, and obviously one of our favorite guests to have on. He's an electric interview, stay tuned for that. We're also going to
before, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but he is an assistant coach at Princess Anne High School, which is where Taishan Chapman plays, and who is one of North Carolina's 2 2022 commitments. And also in that general area, Glover has kind of been a part of a group that helped train Tayon Holloway, who's the other 2022 commit. This was another reason why those 2 guys committed within the last 2 months.
Great. Yeah, so it's going to be an awesome interview with Coach Glover. He was great last time we had him on the show. After that, we're going to go into the last top 5, which was the the 2021 signees, UNC signees that you're most excited about. So that's going to evolve into a discussion based on Don's weekly scoop about positions in the 2021 class, expectations, that kind of stuff, and of course, who y'all are looking forward most to kind of playing in Carolina blue, which relates to kind of Don's weekly scoop. And the top 5 for next week, or the next time we record, is going to be the 2022 UNC targets that you most want to see commit to UNC.
Wish list.
2022 most wanted. Give us your top 5. This is a chance for you to go through the offer list, go through the target list on Inside Carolina, and get familiar with some of the 2022 targets. If you're not familiar, if you listen to this podcast, you probably at least know a decent amount of those guys, and give us your 2022 most wanted. We did that last year, probably around this time. So it's going to be something similar where we kind of break down the 2022, and that will, of course, lead to a discussion that kind of sets us up for the 2022 class in the next podcast. Don, all good? Any ads, any suggestions?
Yeah, the only other thing, and I think you kind of sort of hit on it, but just to make sure. So we're going to go the weekly scoop this week, broke down the early enrollees because they're arriving on campus this weekend. And I think it would be great to have Ross's input on their opportunities. I broke that down in the weekly scoop, but Ross, he's the expert on this. So I think combining our powers on this sort of topic and kind of going position by position, because each position, this is something that I can't think of has ever happened for North Carolina. Each position is getting an early enrollee, with the exception of tight end, which I think is really interesting.
That's the power of this podcast. I'm not just a host. We know Don's the expert. He's recruiting expert, but I am kind of an expert on UNC football and their roster. I'm not an X and O's guy. I'm not, the all 22 like Jason Staples, Don's guy, but I do know UNC's roster pretty well. I do have some sources, so I am familiar, and having covered recruiting and of course hosting this podcast, I'm familiar with depth charts and things like that. So I may be limited in some areas, in a lot of areas.
You're also an expert on men's moisturizers. That's a little known fact.
What are you talking about? Like out of nowhere, just random stuff. Okay, let's get into it, and we're going to bring on Glover very shortly. One thing I wanted to touch on, and this is kind of off topic, was we had Barton Simmons on our podcast, right before signing day, so back in December. He took a job now with Vanderbilt. It's public knowledge. I'm not sure if it's been announced by Vanderbilt, but he's essentially going to Barton Simmons, the former director of scouting for 24/7 Sports, longtime rivals and 24/7 Sports employee, took a job with Vanderbilt under the new head coach there to be their general manager, their, director of player personnel, similar to what Billy High does for UNC. And I just thought it was an interesting move. It's a journalist. He's essentially a journalist, does a podcast, writes, ranks recruits, very involved in the whole, internet recruiting business, and now is working for a team. I'm sure you saw that, Don, and I wanted to hear your thoughts on that. Because I think it's something you could do. You could work for a team as well. And I think it's just the way our business works with actually the football team. I think it's interesting to talk about.
Yeah. So we actually have seen this happen in other sports, baseball, for example, with like the sabermetrics guys, and basketball. We had Evan Daniel leave for not for a team, but didn't he leave for some sort of
agency, like an agency?
Yeah, became an agent sort of thing.
There's been 2 Sports Illustrated NBA writers go to work for NBA teams to do kind of media, not even media relations, but kind of player relations, media relations, communications, and like doing a type of journalism that benefits a team in different ways too. So yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, so this is the first time that I could think of that's kind of happened in our specific field. So it's kind of interesting to see.
Bartow.
Yeah,
your boy, Ryan Bartow.
Bartow, though, was that was more of a situation where he was booted out of the industry, and he counted on some of his friends to kind of save him, sort of thing.
Well, he's worked for multiple schools now. I think he's at Syracuse right now. Ryan Bartow, formerly of 24/7 Sports and Rivals, doing some recruiting work for Syracuse, and before that, I believe Oregon.
And he actually, right before he got the job at Oregon, I believe, or maybe it was after the Oregon. But anyway, he was actually working for Exo Scouting on the West Coast. So, but yeah, yeah, the whole Barton move. I mean, I feel like if anyone is prepared for such a move, Barton is the one. I know that the UNC fans feel a certain way about him because of the whole Des Evans thing, which was BS, as I've made clear multiple times. But to be completely honest, I really enjoyed working with Barton. Anytime I needed him, he was always available. A lot of guys in our industry, once they get to that level, get very, kind of turn into a jerk. And Barton never got that route. I mean, he was definitely like an everyday guy. I think you kind of saw that a little bit on the podcast when we had him on as a guest. The other thing too is that anytime I talked to him about evaluations and stuff like that, I felt like I always learned something from him. And he was very forward thinking in a lot of things. He was part of the group that first kind of started to really look into other sports as a means to evaluate football recruits. And I think that's really key. And then also he just kind of approached things like he didn't have all the answers. Even on our podcast interview with him, there was a point where he asked us what we thought, because he understood that, yeah, he has a better, nationwide view on things. But when it comes to North Carolina guys, you and I know better than even him or Wiltfong, because we see these guys, we talk to these recruits and their trainers and that sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, I consider Barton a friend. I worked with him in the office for 2 or 3 years and played basketball with him, and not a close friend, but yeah, when people bash him, it's like stupid. Like, you don't know the guy, so there's no reason. And the fact that him and 24/7 Sports demoted Evans, who's now in school
on purpose. There was some sort of conspiracy.
Rankings don't even matter. Well, that's all in the past. But
yeah,
I mean, it's interesting. Like, I mean, Vanderbilt's a hard job. So you got a guy who's from Nashville. He played football in high school with, is it Clark Lee?
Yeah.
Clark Lee, the former Notre Dame.
Well, now, Notre Dame defensive coordinator. Yeah.
Yeah, they played high school ball together. Barton was a 4-year starter at safety at Yale. So he knows, I mean, he played the game in a way that, I didn't, Don didn't. I think, Don, did you play a little high school football?
I did play a little high school football.
Yeah. But I think Barton played a little bit higher level. So he obviously is maybe more prepared for that type of job than someone else, obviously, that hasn't played the game. But sharp guy. And, there's, as media evolves, there's other jobs that you can use the skills you develop in communications and media that can be still in sports, that can work in a different way. And obviously as a communicator, as an evaluator, even as a writer in some ways, I'm sure all those skills will be used in his new role. And it seems pretty broad. So he'll have complete control, I imagine, of helping manage Vanderbilt's recruiting database and all that stuff, but also managing the team and figuring out what prospects to go for and how to recruit and where to recruit. And then, he's been in the business now for probably 15 years in terms of knowing the national landscape. So the hire made sense given the geography, giving his ties to Lee and giving his background. And at some point you reach the peak of your business. I mean, that's what Evan Daniels did. I mean, Evan Daniels broke news left and right. It became a point where he was the industry standard for basketball recruiting. There's only so far you can go up in the business. So you always want more of a challenge, and you want to be pushed more and more opportunities and more growth. And that's, I would imagine that's what went into Barton's decision. And, he's a huge hit to the Cover 3 podcast now.
Yeah.
I mean, he was a big part of why I listened. I think he added a huge element, given the fact that he played the game and his recruiting prowess and his love for college football. And when you take, one person out of a 3 or 4 person podcast, it affects it. So I'm interested to see if they bring someone else on to the Cover 3, because it's one of the best college football national podcasts. I don't know if you've listened to it since Barton's been
I have.
on.
It's been a little weird. But yeah, it is equivalent to if Ross left to become a hair model or something, and then I had to host this by myself. I mean, it would be a complete mess.
And we love Chip Patterson, a friend of mine as well. But I don't know the other guys, but Chip's good. I mean, that was a strong podcast. We'll see what happens without Barton. All right, Don, we're going to bring on Glover here in a second. Is there anything else we need to touch on before Glover?
No, just check out the weekly scoop stuff that we posted. There's some good extra scoop in there. and we'll cover the other stuff later on this podcast.
Yeah, and after Glover, we're going to talk about the 2021 early enrollees, UNC's depth chart, positions, all that good stuff. Before we bring on the dynamic Coach Glover, I want to talk to you about Johnny T-Shirt and JohnnyT-Shirt.com, the one-stop shop for all your UNC football needs: apparel, gear, shirts, T-shirts, jerseys, sweatshirts, hats. They have everything, and not just clothes. They have things for the tailgate, for the home, for the office. I mean, anything you can think of that UNC would be on, Johnny T-Shirt has it. Head to JohnnyT-Shirt.com or to the Franklin Street store right in downtown Chapel Hill and shop for all your Carolina gear. Inside Carolina subscribers get 10% off with the discount code found on the message boards for Inside Carolina subscribers. So check that out. Subscribe to Inside Carolina. Join Inside Carolina and use that discount code to get all your discounts from Johnny T-Shirt and JohnnyT-Shirt.com. Again, on Franklin Street. And again, use that promo code. We want to thank Johnny T-Shirt for their support. Support us by supporting them, and it all works together. Win, win, win. And remember, rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast. Give us a 5-star rating to Inside Carolina Podcast. Give us a review, good or bad, critical or applauding. And that really helps us, especially the 5-star rankings. That helps the podcast grow, and that just helps us with more opportunities. We'll be right back with Coach Glover. All right, welcome back to the Scoop Podcast. I'm your host, Ross Martin, joined by Donnie Scoops Callahan. We have a very special guest for the second time. We are bringing on Coach Glover, Deon Glover, to the Scoop Podcast. What's going on, Coach?
What's going on, Ross? How you doing? Happy New Year's to you.
Thank you.
Happy New Year's to you as well.
You too, Coach. Show them your jacket like you showed us. Tar Heel Dad.
Hold on. Let me give it to y'all raw. Y'all see that, right?
Oh.
For those only listening and not on YouTube, Coach has a Tar Heel Dad jacket with Grimes and Glover on the back and the number 20. Of course, his son, Tony Grimes, is a rising sophomore, number 20 for the Tar Heels.
Yeah, that was a gift from Tony. That was a birthday gift for me this year.
Okay. When's your birthday?
August 24th.
Okay. Oh, so that was right after he committed then.
That was right after he committed.
Okay.
All right, Coach, we're going to do a little talk about the two commits that UNC already has for the 2022 class, and then we're going to get into kind of the UNC season and Tony's experience in year one, and just go from there. How's that sound?
Okay, let's go.
All right. Don?
Yeah, so the first guy you're most familiar with is Taishan Chapman. You coach him. I mean, everyone looks at you as, Tony Grimes' dad, but you're also Princess Anne High School's assistant football coach. And so you've seen Chapman grow, and you're also really involved in that area and have seen Chapman in a lot of different, events, camps, 7-on-7s, that sort of thing. What does Chapman bring to the table for North Carolina as a commit?
Wow. Taishan is phenomenal. I've been calling him Percy Harvin 2.0 since he was in middle school. Mm-hmm. That's how electric he is. The things that he do, you can't teach it. You know what I'm saying? You can teach the game, but you can't teach the ability. He brings a phenomenal, just the ability, his speed, his elusiveness, his explosion. He's great. He's dynamic. He's a dynamic playmaker. You know what I'm saying? At the slot, he's going to be a great replacement for Josh. You know what I'm saying? Downs in the slot. I think he's going to do some fantastic things at UNC.
Yeah, of course. This is Chapman. He is 5'10", 160. He's ranked 163 in the nation, number 20 wide receiver, number 7 in Virginia. He was the first commit for UNC in the 22 class, committing on right before Christmas on December 19th. And you mentioned Josh Downs and Taishan Chapman and how they can kind of work together, or he replaces Downs. But Downs will be sophomore next year. Could you see them playing together? Because those are two dynamic players that in this offense, I mean, there's enough room at the wide receiver position to have multiple guys with similar roles to play.
Absolutely. I think that the way Phil did it with bringing Josh along with Daz, you know what I'm saying? Bring him, put him in the game, working them both one after the other, sometimes simultaneously. I think that they will complement each other great. He's a mismatch for anybody on the field. I guarantee you. I'm gonna tell you how special this kid is. When he started, we started his recruiting. Every college coach that told me they wanted to offer him Oregon, Oklahoma, everybody said he can commit right now. When a coach tells you you can commit right now, that lets you know how special a kid is.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
That's probably based on just tape, right? Because, I mean, not many games were observed by coaches because of COVID, I imagine, right?
Right. That was just based on film.
Yeah.
Well,
that's big.
Virginia didn't have their season either. So Virginia season, you guys would start up in March, right?
Yeah. They killed us. They killed the season in March.
Yeah.
It was a disappointment.
One of the things I wanted to ask you about, and you and I have talked this before, but it was important for Chapman to be the first to commit to this class. Why is that? I mean, you've someone who talked to him a bunch. Why did he want to be the first?
Because he wanted this. He wanted to continue a trend. He wanted to set the standard for the 22 class. You know what I'm saying? He's a guy that's highly respected. You know what I'm saying? With recruits across the country. I think he wanted to set the standard, set the trend. He wanted to make a statement. He wanted to be the first. He loves Carolina. You know what I'm saying? I think him seeing what Carolina did with Tony is like icing on the cake for him. You know what I'm saying? So he wanted to hurry up, commit, and then start working on other recruits.
And one last thing on Chapman here. What kind of person is he? What kind of personality? Is he going to be recruiting a lot for UNC? Is he more of a quiet guy? What can you tell us about him as a person?
He's quiet until you get to know him. You know what I'm saying? He's a hard worker. He comes from a great family background. You know what I'm saying? He's a great kid, but he's going to give you everything he got. He's going to give you everything he has. He's going to be the playmaker. I guarantee it. On that offense, he's going to be a playmaker.
Yeah, the other guy he's not at your school. He's at a rival school, Green Run High School, but Taishan Holloway really well. And I just love when I've seen 7-on-7s with him on one side and Tony Grimes on the other. And so tell me about Holloway. I mean, what does he kind of bring to the table?
Taishan is special. Taishan Holloway is special. He's a great cover corner. I explained to somebody last week about athleticism and skill set. They didn't understand the difference. They thought athleticism and skill set was the same. And I said, no, it's not the same. A kid can be athletic and not have the skill set. Taishan has the athleticism and the skill set. You know what I'm saying? He reminds me of Tony. They've been playing 7-on-7 together since, forever, since they were in high school together. They played on the same 7-on-7 team, the Thoroughbreds. Taishan has an incredible skill set, something that a lot of college players lack. So for him coming in, he's going to have an edge. He's going to have a chance to get on that field and compete. You know what I'm saying? They're going to bring him along. They're going to put the weight on him. But skill set wise, when Dre get his hands on him, oh man, it's going to be the same progression with Tony. The same exact progression. You'll see a great corner. He's going to hold his own.
Now
I want to get a spot.
I want to get their names right. It's Taishan
Holloway and Taishan Chapman.
Taishan. Okay, great. Do they know each other?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Oh, everybody in the 757 knows each other.
Look, Ross. They were actually trying to commit together.
Okay.
They were trying to put a plan together and say, look, we're gonna commit together. It was funny, and Taishan didn't want to wait. We call him Little Doc. I call him Percy Harvin 2.0. But he didn't want to wait, Taishan said, we're going to do it on Christmas. And then Little Doc was like, no, I want to commit now. We even had to push it back a week because he wanted to do it. What week was it he wanted to do it, Don?
The day of I think it was the day of the UNC Miami game.
Yeah.
I think. And I remember you and I talking, I was like, I don't want to jump in here, but if I was advising this situation, committing while North Carolina's playing Miami is probably not a good idea.
Yeah. And you know what? You see that? We talked. He pushed it back. He's excited about the program. I'm gonna tell you, it's always good to get kids that want to be at your program.
Let's
that
go.
want to be there. You know what I'm saying? That match the criteria for the program, character-wise and ability-wise. It's always get kids that want to be there. That's not, flip-floppy. They ain't sure. They back and forth about where they want to go. 9 times out of 10, a guy like that gonna end up in the transfer portal. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. You said his nickname was Little Dot?
Yeah, Little Doc.
Doc.
His dad has a nickname. We call him Doc. So
okay.
All through his, in elementary school, all through AYF football, everybody called him Little Doc.
I'm a big nickname guy. I started the nickname for Tony.
What is it?
Grime Dog.
The Grime Dog.
I started that. Whenever he makes a big play, I tweet out Grime Dog.
Grime Dog.
And I started that during his recruitment. So
I like that. I like that, Ross.
If you want, if you want to go halvesies on, maybe we get that kind of get that governmentally sealed, legally we can get what's it called? Trademarked.
Let's get it.
If you want to go halvesies on that, and then he goes to the NFL, and then I could make some money off that. That'd be awesome too.
Hey, long as you share the wealth, man, let's get it.
As long as you share the wealth. All right. Anything else on Holloway, Don?
Both this podcast and last one, Coach has touched on just the football community in the 757, and I feel like it's so unique. So I would love for you to kind of detail that a little bit more on just what it's like competing, because it's strange because everyone's close, everyone likes each other, but then everyone kind of like is a lot of competition too.
Yeah.
What's it like in the 757?
Well, that's the culture that we created years ago. We used to have a 757 Cat Sports Academy. And what we did was, and of course it was a challenge because we had to fight through all the other high school coaches. So we would bring all the players, all the skilled players together, the linemen together, one day out of every week on Sunday, and we would work them out. You know what I'm saying? And we would just do one-on-ones all Sunday. And everybody would compete, just one making the other one better. We would put the mid-range guys with the top guys, and we would flip-flop them. That way, when we went out to regional camps, we would crush the camps. You know what I'm saying? Because our mid-range guys was always used to competing against the best guys. We would take the best guys and put them with mid-range lower guys and get them better. That's how you get better. Iron sharpens iron. And everybody are friends, but when the pads come on and the season come on, they talk their trash. You know what I'm saying? They play. But it's evident that it works because when we go to regional camps, we always kill the camp. We crush the camps.
Well, there's also a lot of trash talking on Twitter too, I've noticed.
Oh yeah. It's nothing personal. It's just that spirit of competition. You know what I'm saying? You gotta love to compete. If you want to survive in this sport, you gotta be a competitor. This is a warrior's game. This is about competition. And if you don't have, everybody want the flash, but they don't have the fire. You got to have the fire to compete. And that's one thing that we have here in the 757 and the 2 up, 2 down in the state of Virginia. We got the flash and the fire. These guys love to compete. They'll compete against anybody in the country.
What does 2 up, 2 down mean?
That means 2 up, 2 down.
Is that VA?
Yeah.
Okay, that's right. I thought that's what it was. I saw Tony do that when was it after the interception or at some point in big play, he did 2 up, 2 down.
He's proud about where he comes from.
That's right. Hey, so am I. Greensboro.
I know that's right.
All right, I got one last question.
What's the Greensboro hand signs?
It's 336. Hey, we gotta get that 2022 defensive tackle.
Shaw?
Travis Shaw.
Travis Shaw.
Massive butt. He has a massive butt.
Yes, I love him. He's a dog.
Ross just likes his butt.
He's a dog.
Dude, he's a freak, man. He plays on the back. I mean, he goes to my high school. So yeah, I mean, he's an athlete. He plays basketball. He's 6'5", 6'6".
Gotta get him.
Yeah.
He's a dog.
Yeah. I'm willing to do a lot of things to get him.
Oh man.
All right. Lastly, 757. What's the food like up in that area of Virginia? I've never been. Is there anything that's special to?
Just go to Coach Glover's house.
Is there anything special to the food there?
Coach Glover is always cooking up something.
Yeah.
Nice.
When are you gonna have us over, Coach Glover?
Hey, look, anytime y'all in the 7-5, I got y'all. Just come to the house. come to the Palace, and I'll put something together for y'all.
Is there any food that's
the other day, Ross?
What'd you make?
Me and my wife made lobster, crab legs. We had surf and turf, and some steaks.
Sounds good to me.
It was a killer.
Didn't you have lobster for Christmas, Don?
I did. I had lobster and steak.
I need to get y'all's jobs.
Yeah, man. I put together some curry basil rice with some shrimp and salmon sauce, man. I'll hook you up. I'll put together some jerk chicken. What you want? I can do it. I can cook anything. I got some lobster mac and cheese for you.
Ooh, is there any food that's like regionally specific to 757? Like
they kind of do it all. Seafood is pretty good, but they kind of do it all. We got some pretty good seafood restaurants. We got Rockefellers. We got Steinhilber's.
So seafood and country food, I imagine.
Yeah. It's a mix between everything.
Cool. All right, so now let's get into Tony Grimes, your son, and we'll get into the 2020 season. Grimes is kind of like you predicted and like we had talked about. Slowly started playing more and more. 15 snaps, 20 snaps, and all of a sudden he came in. I think was it the Wake Forest game? He came in the second half, took over the starting job, and after that, I don't think he left the field much. So for the most of the second half of the 2020 season, he started alongside Kyle McMichael. Of course, Storm Duck was injured, which did leave a little opportunity there. In general, what did you think about Tony's freshman year from your perspective, and we'll just go from there.
I thought it was phenomenal. I thought he had a phenomenal season. I actually thought it was more accelerated than I anticipated. I knew that we were going to work our way in. I didn't expect him to play as much as he did, but I knew that they were going to work him in, bring him along, work him in. Because to make the transition into college sports, it's extremely hard, especially football. You have to adjust to the speed of the game. You've got to learn the scheme. They got to break away old habits from you when you were in high school. And granted, Tony came in a whole year early. You know what I'm saying? So the way he progressed is mind-blowing. You know what I'm saying? Him coming in so late with no spring ball, with no season to prep, and then Jay Bateman and Dre and Mac just working him into the system was awesome. We kind of talked. We knew he would kind of pick up towards the end of the season, but I didn't know he was going to go that strong. He really had some great. He really played, Ross. Really. The game. He played. Yeah. You're going up against seniors, grown men, guys that's on their way to the league, and you're a senior out there in high school, and you're strapping guys that was putting up points on a lot of other seasoned guys in the sport.
Yeah, it's not like I don't remember any time that he really gave up any sort of big play. He had that one PI, I remember. He had the interception.
Suspect.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. Are you biased though? Are you biased at all?
No, I'm not biased, but I'm looking at it and I'm saying they called the pass interference call and the guy was falling down.
Yeah, I know.
Come on, that was suspect.
And then he had the big interception against the incredible interception against Miami, and then he had the sack against Texas A&M. Those are the plays.
The stack. I love the sack.
That sack off the corner blitz when he chased down Texas A&M's quarterback. Those are the two plays that stand out to me. Where did you see him maybe take the biggest growth from August to December? In what ways, in terms of maybe stuff that we haven't seen or that he talked to you about, where he grew the most in those 5 or 6 months?
Working on skill set.
Okay.
Coach Dre. Tony is so laser focused. You know what I'm saying? He knows what it takes. He increased his film time, which is he's always in the film room. He you can ask any coach on the staff. He's the first in the building, last to leave. You know what I'm saying? This is consistent. This is not once or twice. This is a consistent walk. You know what I'm saying? So he saw where he needed to get better at the little 10-yard, come breaking down on the 10-yard passes, sideline passes. And if you notice, they caught it. I think 1 or 2 got him in the Notre Dame game. But then when you look at Miami or you look at the Orange Bowl against Texas A&M, he broke those passes up. So that tells you right there that he's getting better. You know what I'm saying? He's coming out of his breaks a whole lot faster, a whole lot stronger. You know what I'm saying? He's focusing on attention to detail, shoulders over toes, not sitting up so high. Just staying square. Work. Dre got him. Dre and Bateman got more film time with Bateman. He's working on his craft.
Yeah, and remember, like he had no summer with UNC, no spring, so you would expect the jump between freshman year and to sophomore year is going to be massive with a full off-season conditioning program, a full spring, a full summer conditioning program, and then training camp. So you expect the jump from what we saw in November, December to August and September to be massive. Don, you got anything on Tony?
Yeah, I would love to know, just you mentioned his laser focus. And I mean, everyone kind of tosses it around, but Tony really does have a laser focus. And I noticed this in high school. I mean, you're talking about a kid who just absolutely killed it in the classroom, absolutely killed it. And just a quick little story. I was talking to a source who said a lot of other UNC commits wanted to do what Tony did, but they just didn't kill it in the classroom like he did. I mean, because you just had to absolutely just do your stuff 100%. And that's what Tony did. And then on top of that, any free time he was doing stuff to get better. I mean, how many? He had a bunch of trainers. He didn't just have one. He had 2 or 3. He did yoga. And then any free time he had, he worked for his dad.
He worked on a bear.
And according to his employer, he was a really good employee. So where does that focus come from? Because I have kids. I can't get. I have my son who doesn't do his schoolwork ever. So where does this focus come from?
Well, I mean, part of it is as parents, me and my wife, we try to raise the boys to, if you want something bad enough, you got to work for it. You know what I'm saying? You gotta cultivate your gift. You got to work for it, and you got to make sacrifices for it. Tony understood it. He understood the fact that, look, I want to be the number 1 corner in the country. I got to sacrifice for it. So that means I'm going to have to give up hanging out with my friends all the time or going to the movies when I should be studying film or working on my craft. And he knows that there is a reward, you know what I'm saying? It might be delayed during the process, but it won't be denied. So everything he's ever reached for, he's always attained because he committed to the process. You know what I'm saying? He understands that. So, when he got to UNC, maintaining his grades, great grades, was not an issue. Mm-hmm. He said, okay, I know I have to put more work in athletically, but I can't increase the athletic work without increasing the academic aspect of it. So he knew how to maintain time management, both ends of the coin. And his grades are great. He's not an academic risk. His skill is growing exponentially. It's just growing phenomenally. I think next year we're going to see something that we never seen before. He's going to have a full all season. You know what I'm saying? As I said before, he's going to start anticipating a lot of stuff that's going on the field. And it's going to be scary. I think it's going to be scary. His skill level is going to change.
So what do you think about the cornerbacks and the defensive back room in general next season? You would assume that Storm Duck comes back. You got Tony. You got Kyler as a redshirt junior. I think Kyler had a great season too.
Yes, he did.
And then, of course, you have the nickelbacks with Ja'Quarius Conley, Trey Morrison can bounce around. So what do you think of the cornerbacks room? I mean, there's only 2 spots, maybe 3 spots. How does that kind of shake out?
I think you find a way to get them all on the field because you got Storm, Kyler, Tony, Trey Morrison, Conley. Then you got
Chapman,
Sam Kelly, and Chapman, Chapman. You got to find a way to get them guys on the field. And keep them all on the field. You know what I'm saying? You have to find a way to do it. Or is it relates to a business aspect. I guess the best person will play. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? Or you work up certain packages for those guys. But some programs do it. Keep the best 3 defensive backs on the field at the same time. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think Georgia plays up to 7 DBs. You know what I'm saying? Depending on what's going on. But you have to find a way to keep all those guys on the field because they're going to do nothing but make the back end better.
I wonder if they move somebody to maybe play some safety or something. I don't know how that works. But, in the offenses now, you have 4 wide receiver and even, 3 wide receivers, 1 tight end set. So there's always a need for guys who can defend passes. And I don't think you can take Conley off the field too. I mean, to see Grimes and Conley out there, I mean, that's a dynamic duo, especially in terms of tackling. It's just like so refreshing to see some guys make some open field tackles. I think Conley brought that in 2020. Speaking on 2020 and UNC, I mean, the trajectory of UNC football is straight up. I mean, even after this Orange Bowl win, it seems, or sorry, Orange Bowl loss, there was so much hype. Right. Yeah. There was so much hype for UNC coming off a loss. It's hard to believe, but you just look at the roster. You look at Sam Howell coming back, a full offensive line back. You know, you lose some you lose some running backs, some talented running backs. You got a lot of wide receivers coming back. You do lose Daz and Diami. But on defense, I mean, you really only lose Chaz is the only starter they lose because Tamon Fox is coming back. I mean, what do you think about UNC next season, especially on defense? I think the defense can be very special next year, but even maybe more special in 22.
Yeah, I think that 21 out of 22 guys that's going to be that actually the guys considering the guys that played in the Orange Bowl. I think we got 21 guys, man, that's coming back. I think the defense is going to be phenomenal. And then with the guys that we already have, but you add depth with guys like Ra coming in, Keyshawn Silver. Man, these guys, look, I don't think there's a better defense. I'm being honest with you.
Yeah.
With the speed and with what we have now and with the speed that we have, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be hard. It's going to be, and plus with the spring ball, you're adding the spring ball. Now we have time to spend with these guys. You know what I'm saying? And when I say we, I want you guys to understand, you know, because some people say, oh, he's funneling players into UNC and he's not supposed to do that, Listen, I have to support my son. My son plays for this program. You understand what I'm saying? They are the parent to my son right now while I'm not away. So I have to support that. So when I say we, I'm talking about my son and UNC.
Yeah, you're able to separate yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, as a parent and coach, yeah. I mean, because you will do, and this is even before all this, there was a point where you were a high school coach of Princess Anne, and then you also helped the players in the area, regardless of what high school that they would play at. You know, and you didn't care. And a lot of it, I think all of it was basically you donating your time. You weren't making money off of these sort of situations. You just wanted to help the community. So you're capable of wearing different hats and being whatever you need to be depending on what hat was on.
That's right. And every player can't come to UNC. You know what I'm saying? They don't fit the profile. So those guys got to go somewhere. They got to go to Virginia or Virginia Tech or Maryland or wherever else they can go. We just sent some players down to ULM. You know what I'm saying? So it's not I funnel players into one place. You know what I'm saying? But when people ask me about UNC and they ask me about the recruiting process, I'm going to tell the truth.
Yeah. Yeah, love it.
Well, you obviously believe it because you sent your son there. You wouldn't have sent your son to a place that you weren't comfortable with or you didn't believe in.
Exactly. Yeah. No better place.
Yeah.
And quickly back on the 2021 season, I think the defensive line could use one more year after 21 to develop, because then you get Keyshawn as a sophomore, you get Ra as a sophomore, you get
Des Evans,
Davari, Des Evans. You get some of these guys who are freshmen and redshirt freshmen, sophomores. They're going to be more upperclassmen. That's why I think 22 might be the year, because you'll still have Tony, still have Conley. You do lose some guys like Morrison and Gimmel, but I think you're going to see the defense getting equal with the offense next season. And then we'll see what happens in 22, because obviously Sam Howell might be gone in that season.
Drake
All right, Don.
Steps right in.
What'd you say?
Drake May steps right in.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's the hope. Don, do you want to talk about Zach Rice at all or anything?
I mean, Coach, you want to just, because you know Zach, you know his mom, you talk to them, just what North Carolina's situation is with him, their chances. I mean, obviously he's a 5-star guy. Ohio State's involved, Notre Dame, Virginia's still there. And other schools are going to be involved also. What's North Carolina's prospects with him?
And for those who don't know, Zach Rice is a 2022 offensive tackle from Virginia, 6'6", 285, 5-star elite kind of tackle, right, Don?
Yes.
Okay. Go ahead, Coach
Stud.
Glover.
Absolute stud. Zach, awesome person. Mother, awesome person. This entire family is incredible. I think that him having the chance to Zoom and talk with the staff at UNC is incredible. I think they have made some great headway with him. I think UNC, me personally, I think UNC is in great position with Zach Rice. They actually have a chance to actually get this kid. You know what I'm saying? I don't know where it stands with the offensive line coach. You know what I'm saying? I know that he does talk to him, but I think that that's going to be the deciding factor, how strong of a push that they give. But I do know that UNC is in great position with him. He'll be a phenomenal kid. The kid is electric. I think he's a day one guy. I think he gets out there and he competes day one for a starting position. You know what I'm saying? He's similar to my son. He's similar to Tony. He's laser sharp focus. You know what I'm saying? And I think that he's one of those guys that can come in and help the program immediately. If he doesn't start, back up. You know what I'm saying? That bench is important, you know.
For sure. And I've always said, I think UNC needs their one thing they're lacking is kind of getting those elite offensive linemen. That's one recruiting kind of blemish I think they have in the last couple of years. All right, Coach, we really appreciate the time. That was awesome. And of course, we'd love to have you on maybe sometime down the line before the 2021 season kicks off. And we really appreciate it.
You already know what it is, Ross. Anytime, man. Anytime, Don. Anytime.
Yeah, we're gonna scoot up for a road trip, mostly to eat at your house. Once I'm at Lobster Mac and Cheese, might have to make a road trip up there.
I got you.
The spring.
I miss the hospitality. I got you.
We'll bring a film crew and we'll do a documentary on eating at Coach Glover's.
Hey, let's get it.
That'd be fun. All right, Don, you good?
Yeah, Coach. Thank you so much for being on there. I will definitely be in touch with you.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thanks, Don Corleone.
All right, see you, Coach.
See you, Coach.
All right, we're back on the scoop after a good 30-minute interview with Coach Glover. As always, awesome. I mean, not much really to add. He loves Carolina, loves his son, and his son's a baller, and he's always entertaining.
Yeah. No, I mean, love having him on. Love interacting with him. He's part of a group that's putting on some camps coming up right before the Virginia season starts up. So I'm going to be up there seeing some recruits, particularly the commits UNC has. So yeah, I mean, a lot of information that he gave. So I thought it was good.
There you go. Always electric, Don. Okay, so let's get into this top 5, right? Or do you want to do? Yeah, let's do your weekly scoop. Sorry, go ahead.
All right, yeah. So I guess I'll just take the reins here. Take the host role. You know what I mean? I'm a jack of all trades. All right. Quarterback position, obviously. All right. So let's just run down. Let's get background. 12 of UNC signees are going to be arriving on campus, reporting to campus, enrolling this weekend. They'll begin taking classes the following Tuesday, and then they'll be able to participate in spring practice, which I believe starts March 24th or something along that, 23rd, March 23rd.
Okay.
And the most unique thing, I mentioned this earlier, or the unique thing, is that, I don't remember this ever happening, is every position with the exception of tight end will receive a new addition from this early enrollment group. So the weekly scoop kind of breaks down, position by position, just the opportunities that each position offers. But I want to get Ross's thoughts. The QB position, the guy coming in, Drake May, obviously has as much skill as anyone, has the pedigree, talent, all that sort of stuff. The experience, played in Charlotte against some of the top secondaries you're going to see at the high school level. What sort of opportunity is he walking into at North Carolina?
Yeah, I think he comes in and will compete this spring with Jacoby Criswell for the backup job. Criswell hasn't shown anything in his short time. He hasn't been really given a chance to flex what he can do, and we don't see practice. We don't see what goes behind closed doors at UNC. But I think, iron sharpens iron. You bring in Drake to compete immediately with Criswell for the backup job, and then when Sam leaves after we would think the 2021 season, so he's one more year at UNC, it's a competition that offseason between Criswell and May for the starting job. They are bringing another guy in 22, we think.
Yeah, but
Okay.
we're only talking
So
about.
I mean, I could see Criswell. I could see Criswell if he does not win that job transferring, and I think many want Drake to go ahead and win the job. This is not sourced or anything. I just think the natural progression of Sam Howell for 3 years, Drake May for 3-4 years makes sense. But we all know how good Drake is, and I think he brings a lot to the table athletically and maybe a little bit more. Who's more polished as a passer, Criswell or May?
Ooh, that's tough.
You loved Criswell as a passer.
I do. I really do. I love his deep ball. I mean, really, I was so blown away by. I loved his film. I really loved his film. But just seeing him throw in person and seeing how polished he was, I really liked it. I think the difference between the two is that, May has the experience of high school experience. I'm talking about. I mean, obviously, Criswell played college last year or this past season. May has the experience of having to face high school sophisticated secondaries.
Okay.
And he's done that not only playing in the Charlotte area where you're playing against DBs that like Huff had, where they're going on to FBS schools and that sort of thing, but also on the 7-on-7 level, he played for the Carolina Stars, and they traveled all over the country playing against teams, Texas, Florida, all of them. So I mean, he's faced the best of the best.
And Criswell has the advantage of a full year in the system too. So he mentally, preparation-wise, tape-wise, he has the advantage over Drake May, but Drake will have a year to close that gap. All right, next position.
All right, running back, we have Caleb Hood, who has just turned into an absolute tank. He told me he weighs 235 pounds. That's what he will report at on Saturday.
He might need to lose some weight, right?
Perhaps, but he still clocked an electric time 4.540 at the VTO camp. I think it was like a month or so ago. So he hasn't lost the speed. Yeah, he's not. So he's not shifty. This is a power guy, but he still has that speed. So he has the finishing speed. I mean, he almost kind of, just because the players on my mind from last night, although he didn't play hardly at all, but Trey Sermon for Ohio State, just the power. But he has that finishing speed, which I don't think Sermon has. But I think Hood has that finishing speed. What sort of opportunity does he walk into?
Yeah, I mean, I think the fact that he's enrolling early is massive, because there is an opening at running back with Carter. Obviously, Carter leaving, Javonte Williams leaving. No real leader, coming in, because I don't think Brooks is elite. Josh Henderson didn't show much in the time he has played at UNC. This is his second year, and he played a little bit in the Orange Bowl. Nothing too impressive there. And then you have Elijah Green, who did not play much in the Orange Bowl, and DJ Jones, who is injured. I think Caleb Hood can come in. I think if he's a smart guy. He's sharp. I think he'll pick it up. If he can block and help out in pass protection, I think there's a chance that he could get a good majority of the snaps entering the 21 season. Now, dude, I don't know what goes behind the closed doors. I mean, maybe DJ Jones and Elijah Green are unbelievable, but we didn't see any of that because it was a two-headed monster this year. But I think Hood, based on what I've heard from what you've told me about his athleticism, his explosiveness, his 40 time, his obviously physically he's ready, maybe even more physically ready than the other guys are right now in terms of weight and strength. I think Hood has a good chance of anybody to be in that kind of starting rotation when we talk about the beginning of the 2021 season.
Just to add on to that real quickly, you're talking about a kid who, from basically being able to walk, his father, who played at North Carolina, has been training him, and has basically almost the past year, the entire past year, he's been training him as a running back. And you kind of, I saw that in him in the camp that I saw recently. So I feel like whatever he needs to do to play that position on the college level, he's going to be prepared to do because of his father. But moving on to something
coming in spring is huge for him. I mean,
if
he doesn't come in the spring, we're not talking about him being as much of an impact player this season.
Okay. Wide receiver.
Okay.
3 guys coming in. We have Gavin Blackwell, which you had as a guest on our podcast. Kid plays with a lot of energy, probably more of a slot guy, although he could play the outside. He has a speed, great hands, great route runner. JJ Jones, more of an outside guy, big, very similar to Bo Corrales, to where you look at him and you think possession receiver, but if you're a DB and you make that mistake, he'll make you pay, and he will definitely take it to the house because he has the speed, he has the ability to break a tackle, he plays with a lot of determination. And then Kobe Paysour, who another guy who could play inside or outside, great body control, even though he's not the biggest receiver, a big jump ball guy, and has a great pair of hands. What sort of opportunities do these three have coming in?
Who's the most polished of these guys? Gavin?
Ooh, yeah, I guess I'll go with Gavin. Gavin, another guy who played on the Stars. He was the go-to receiver for Drake May this past 7-on-7 season. Also has experience catching passes from Sam Howell. He was Sam Howell's guy for, I guess, 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So he's so he has caught passes from legit, ACC quarterbacks. The other two can't really say that.
Yeah. So what I don't know right now is where a guy like Gosnell, a guy like Tylee Kraft, even some other wide receivers, we haven't seen them. So I don't know where they stack up in the depth chart even. I mean, of those guys, it sounds like Gavin might be able to make the most impact, but Gavin can be that slot guy too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but maybe he could step into kind of what Diami did, kind of across the middle type guy, can go deep too. So
well, what does North Carolina need? Where are some of the openings at?
You would assume Bo Corrales, who's coming back for an extra season, is the possession kind of red zone big threat. And then Josh Downs is going to be the slot guy, or the dynamic kind of filling in for Daz Newsome. So the opening is kind of who fills in for Diami, but Chaffrey Brown has kind of got himself in that role. And Emory Simmons kind of is there with Bo as well, kind of the bigger outside receiver. So, okay. I mean, it's going to be hard to break into this rotation. You saw this year, Longo didn't really play as many wide receivers as maybe we thought. It was really Diami, Daz, Bo. And when Bo got hurt, it was Chaffrey Brown, Emory Simmons. Mm-hmm. Those are the only guys, to my knowledge, that, looking at the stats here, that really got significant amount of reps, minutes, and catches. So it's going to be hard for any of those guys to break in, I think, unless one guy's more elite than we expect. Because even Josh Downs didn't really play much or even see many targets until the Orange Bowl.
Gotcha. All right, next
so what do you
position.
think? You think Gavin?
I think because you have Josh, and just because of what I think Josh was more polished than Gavin is, way more polished coming in, and you look at how much he didn't play, until really the bowl game when they kind of needed him because they had Diami out and everything like that. So yeah, I mean, I think really you're just looking at situations in reserve opportunities for these guys, just kind of getting your feet wet, maybe late in the game, or maybe if someone gets injured, that sort of thing. But yeah, from as far as the starting three, I think that's going to be set by upperclassmen.
Yeah, and look, I mean, you look at the catches from 2020, Diami and Daz had 55 and 54. After that, it was the wide receivers, or it was the running backs who had the next most catches, 25 each by Javonte and Michael. Then it was Bo, who was hurt, Garrett Walston, Chaffrey Brown, and Emory Simmons, and Josh only had 7 catches. Mm-hmm. So, all
right, next position, offensive line. I only have one guy coming in, but he is a big one. He weighs as much as 3 guys now. Diego Pounds, who was the in-state guy that UNC basically kind of flipped. He was a silent commit to Penn State for about a month. He tells me that when he arrives on Saturday, he will be 6'6" and weigh 335 pounds. That's up from the 280, 290 range when he was a junior.
Right.
What sort of opportunity does he have coming into this season, in the spring?
Well, linemen are always pretty hard to project, and they usually don't even see the field until maybe their redshirt freshman year. So, I mean, I don't think this guy is going to step in and be a player. Now, who knows if an injury happens at the guard spot, he could. But, the guards are pretty much set with Azudu, who is spectacular, and McKeithen, who played nearly every snap in 2020. So, I mean, and then behind them is the guy from Raleigh who also played some center, who flipped from state, maybe not from Raleigh.
Adorno, right
Adorno.
outside. Yeah, Jonathan
So,
Adorno.
but then beyond that, I mean, Ed Montilus has been a backup as well. There's a walk-on that's played a lot as well, but they need to start building the depth. That starts with Diego Pounds, William Barnes, if he ever shows up and becomes kind of a reliable backup. But they do need to keep building depth and get ready for when all these guys leave. McKeithen will be a senior. I think Jordan Tuckle will be a senior. Brian Anderson will be a senior. So a lot of these guys, there's about to be, after this season, there's going to be a kind of an overhaul in the offensive line. That's where Diego Pounds can come in and maybe a player in 2022.
Okay.
That's a lot of weight gain. That's a lot of weight gain.
I know. I literally,
Did you gasp?
I record my interview with him, and I'm listening to it, and it's a few days afterwards, and I literally asked him like 3-4 different times. Oh, so you said 335, like 335. So I was definitely kind of being like, whoa, man, that's a lot.
But I mean, you got to think about he played. It was over a year ago last time he played, right? So you're talking about fall 2019. So that's his last listed weight. So to gain 30, 40 pounds, that's a lot in a year, but God, that's so much food. I mean, you wish you could be an offensive lineman so you could eat like that.
Dude, I eat like that. There's no wishing. All right, defensive line. So we have two guys, which we've talked about a bunch. We even talked about earlier with Coach Glover. We had Javari Ritzie and Keyshawn Silver. Both these guys, I think, are more for techniques, but they're super versatile. And I think Bateman's going to be able to – they're perfect for Bateman because they're going to be able to be moved around that front five, basically, with the 3 down linemen and the 2 outside linebackers. I think Bateman's going to be able to do a lot. Silver might ultimately grow into like a nose tackle in Bateman's system, but really these guys are just so versatile. They're going to be able to do a lot of different things. What's kind of their opportunity?
Yeah, I mean, you look at what Miles Murphy did in 2020. Murphy started playing pretty early, getting 15, 20 snaps, coming in kind of as a backup to just let the guys rest, and was pretty productive. And then, as the season progressed, I mean, Murphy and even Clyde Pender and not Varner, but the other guy that came with Varner, KJ Hester, they kind of took over the backup role behind Ravo Hasek and Tamari Fox. And I think Tamari Fox at times plays out of position because I feel like he's more of a defensive end in terms of what he can do. So I think Ritzie and Silver will compete with guys like Murphy, Pender, and Kedrick Bingley Jones for snaps. Am I missing anyone there? I'm not sure. Yeah, Ritzie.
I mean, it's just crazy. We're just listing 4-star guys.
No, it's great. I mean, that's what they need. Like that's what UNC's need is talent up front on defense. They finally got that, and I think I don't think they'll start, but God, I think by maybe game 4 or 5, they may be playing 20, 25 snaps. Because Vohasek looked great in the Orange Bowl. I think Fox is a really solid player. Those guys are going to play a lot and likely start. And then you'll see like Miles Murphy kind of be that third guy. Clyde Pender as a kind of a backup nose tackle, and then Kedrick Bingley Jones, Ritzie, and Silver right there along with them. But I think, like I told Glover, I think 2022 is when the defensive line is going to be elite.
Okay. All right. Another position where we have 2 coming in, linebacker. Ra Dilworth, which, everyone knows I'm a big fan of. Coach Glover also mentioned him a bunch. Just explosive dude. I think, to label him as a linebacker doesn't do his skill set justice because I think he's going to be used a lot of different things. He actually mentions that in the Weekly Scoop. So I'm not going to give that away here. So check out the Weekly Scoop to get that. And then Power Eccles, who, as I've mentioned before, was the top player the past couple of seasons on a defense that was one of the best defenses the state of North Carolina has produced at the high school level, Vance High School, which won a championship Power's junior season and lost in the championship game his sophomore season while playing all their games in the Charlotte area against teams like Myers Park, which had Drake May and Huff High School and Butler and Mallard Creek and so on and so forth. All right, so what type of opportunity do these linebackers have that they're walking into?
Did Vance High School change their name?
They did actually.
Do you know the name
believe?
change?
Yeah, I believe they did. Yeah, and because they haven't.
You know what it's changed to?
Oh my gosh. Off the top of my head, I do not know.
Okay.
Which is weird because it's not that old of a school. Like it's maybe like 20 years old.
Do you know why it changed names?
I do not.
Do you think it was something to do with racism?
Yeah, that's the first thing you pop in your mind because there's a lot of schools that have done that recently because it was named, their schools were named after some like a civil war, general or whatever. But I don't know. I don't know who. I think it's Zebulon Vance. I don't know who that is.
Zebulon Vance was a former senator, governor, and Confederate.
That's
colonel.
Why.
Yeah.
Confederate.
And after George Floyd's death in May, they pushed for Vance's name to be removed, and they named it after a civil rights attorney, Julius L. Chambers. Chambers High School. All right.
Yes, very good.
Moving on. Don't want to get in too many social and civil rights discussions here. Okay.
We'll get nasty messages on the Facebook on the message board.
Okay, we just won't get into it. All right. Storming that Capitol, that's pretty crazy, wasn't it, Don?
Were you there?
I was looking for your face in the
Were you
in the wood,
did you
in the
have
fur, in the fur hat.
Did you have a Viking cap on and face paint?
I don't even want to get into it. That's okay. All right. I was not there, for the record. Okay. So Strat's gone. Starters are going to be Jeremiah Gimmel and Eugene Asante. Behind them, Cedric Gray and Kadri Jackson. So they got two deep already. But look, dude, Ra-Ra's special. And I think Power Eccles is special too. They will push to be backups, I imagine. But linebackers have very cerebral role. You have to learn a lot of coverages, a lot of roles. They're important to that defense. So it'll definitely be a learning curve for both to kind of learn the system. They come in early, which will help. But they will push Kadri Jackson and Cedric Gray for snaps. And heck, man, I mean, Gimmel is great, smart, awesome. Not the super most physical, athletic guy. I love Jeremiah. Great interview. But there'll be a lot of competition in that room now when you bring in two studs like Eccles and Dilworth. Gimmel is gone after this season, 2021, and you would imagine one of these guys, whether it be Gray, Dilworth, Eccles, Jackson, will take that starting role. But I think Bateman finds a way to get these guys on the field in some way on defense, on special packages, like you saw with Conley and Grimes some in 2020. And, of course, I think Dilworth and Eccles could both be special teams guys next year.
The thing that popped out to me on what you just said was that Gimmel is a good interview because I didn't experience that when he was being recruited. He was actually one of the more difficult recruits to get a hold of.
Yeah.
And, he was fine when I got him on the phone, but I remember it would literally take like weeks to get him on the phone.
So I covered Gimmel's recruitment too. I remember exactly where I was when I did the interview too. I just pulled over the side of the road, because when they call you, and you may not get them again. So you have to kind of do it. You have to do the interview when you can get it. But yeah, he's great. He just speaks his mind. He's very smart. He knows the game really well. And so if you're like a football guy like myself, you can really get down to X's and O's and kind of.
You consider yourself a football guy? Yeah,
for sure. He'll kind of give you insight that maybe the coaches even won't. He's a little loose with what he will tell you, but you can ask him stuff. He'll tell you, and he's very well spoken and pretty sharp. I think he gives you the most, which makes him the best interview in my mind.
Okay. Okay.
How could Bateman use Dilworth, you think, next year? As a rookie, first year guy.
Yeah. So,
a deep breath.
I definitely. Well, I'm thinking to myself, getting into Bateman's head is like a dangerous thing because this guy just completely goes the opposite direction. But I guess my thoughts are, you have specific packages where you throw them out there, and you have them rush the passer, and then maybe as a counter to that, you have them drop into coverage just to kind of throw the quarterback off, because obviously when you throw a guy in there, the tell is, oh, he's going to rush the passer, but you can kind of do some things with it when you kind of switch it up that way. Yes, but I think you got to take advantage of his explosiveness, and I could see something similar to Tony, where he plays a little bit and he plays a little more and more and more as the season goes. I don't know if he'll become a starter by the end of the season like Tony did, just because there's just not that opportunity.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think he's a guy that Bateman at some point will be able to take advantage of.
It was a perfect storm for Tony because Storm got injured early.
Mm-hmm.
And then Renee was the whole season kind of coming back from an ACL and never got really to full strength. And so Tony Grimes passed Renee on the depth chart. I'm most excited about seeing Conley next year and how Bateman uses Dilworth over the next couple of years, because I think we're going to truly see Bateman's defense the next 2 years. I don't think he was able to do what he really wants to do with his talent last 2 years. I think you're finally going to see, full blitz packages, whatever he has in that mind. You'll see that more the next 2 years because he has lockdown corners now. He has Grimes, Duck, and McMichael who you can trust. You can do one-on-one on the outside, which allows you to do more in terms of blitzes with linebackers and whatnot.
All right. So that kind of brings us into our last position.
Yep.
Defensive back. Got 2 guys coming in. Deandre Boykins, who's more of an athlete, probably the least polished, but as far as like physically prepared, he's going to be that. I mean, he's another guy who just, it's such a cliche to say gym rat, but he's a guy who literally goes to the gym every single day, works out every single day, works with a DB coach, works on different sort of movement, that sort of thing. So he's going to be physically prepared, but definitely needs to be molded a little bit more. And then you have Dontavious Nash, who was the first commit of this class. I think he's more of a safety, but definitely can play anywhere in the secondary if you need him to. He has the ball skills. He has the coverage ability. He also has that nastiness that we talked about when we actually had him on the podcast. What sort of opportunities do these guys have?
Yeah, so I think at safety there is some room for a young stud to come in and steal some time.
Young stud.
Yeah, I mean, I love Nash. He was great. I mean, he was great in our interview, that mentality, the size he brings at 6'3", 175. He probably add at least 15 pounds in January, February, March, and into the summer. I mean, they'll pack weight on these guys, whatever they need. And they have 6 months now to do it hopefully without any sort of shutdown. We saw Nash. I mean, he has the frame, right, to kind of put on a lot more weight, I imagine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I think so. Yeah.
So he's 6'3", 175 now. Get him up to 6'3", close to 200. I think he could push Cam Kelly for reps at safety. I think Don Chapman, Trey Morrison are kind of established there. So you can see Nash becoming a backup pretty early if he is who we think he is. And Boykins is a guy I forget about. I don't know why. Maybe because we haven't had him on the podcast.
Well, he's not active on social media. He doesn't. Now he's always been good to me. I shoot him a text and he gets back to me and says, "Hey, give me a call at such and such time," which is perfect. I love that. But he doesn't do a whole lot of interviews. He's definitely not he doesn't put himself out there sort of thing. Yeah. When he committed, he sent me the edit to put out there. So because he didn't have social media. So he's just not this out there guy sort of thing.
Yeah. And like he's a talented guy. I mean, he's a top 150 ranked player in the nation, or 175. So top 200. He's gonna be a nickel there competing with Conley. Who knows? Morrison could end up playing some more nickel. Who is the Spotsville is at nickel as well, moving over from wide receiver. I'm trying to think anybody else is at nickel, but I mean, yeah, everything we hear about Boykins and his size, 5'11", 210, that's about what you want there. So, yeah, these guys, we get hyped about these freshmen and we say they're going to play, but I mean, in reality, like it's hard to break in.
Yeah.
And of the guys we've talked about, I mean, maybe 2 will see substantial reps. It's probably going to be Hood and maybe one of the defensive linemen and maybe one defensive back. But I mean, even at linebacker, Bateman always says it's just so hard to take those guys out, the starters, because if they're, it was so hard to take Chaz and Jeremiah out because, they know what to do. And that's such a critical role where you can't just throw out a freshman and kind of pray.
Yeah.
It's a little more difficult.
Most of the impact's going to be on, especially at linebacker, is going to be on special teams.
Yeah.
You look at a guy like Cedric Gray, who played a ton of snaps. If you go and look on PFF, he played a ton of snaps, but I think like only 5 snaps were on defense. He played almost like 200 snaps or something crazy like that on special teams.
I read your scoop about that. It was great. Okay, cool. So I think we're done there. Do you want to move on to the top 5?
Yeah, because this is running really long.
Yeah, I know. It's one of our longest podcasts ever.
But Ross is loving it. Ross is loving this extra time with Don.
You know, work's been a little slow. You know, basketball game was canceled, all that stuff. And football's over, so you know it's no longer crossover season. So there's a little bit more flexibility in our schedules.
All right, let's do this then, Ross.
Getting a haircut today too.
That's good. What you gonna? You should do something crazy.
I'm gonna get the Don.
What is the? I love to know what the Don is.
Okay. What did Glover call you?
So wait, was I?
What did Glover call you?
Don Corleone?
Don Corleone.
Or did he call me? I mean, I know.
Y'all should do a buddy cop. Y'all should do a buddy cop show.
A buddy cop show. Okay.
Coach Glover and Don.
Okay, let's go to the top 5.
Okay, so top 5 2021 signees you're most excited about. We had, it looks like 4 or 5 submissions, Don.
Yes, we're gonna run through those real quick.
Let's run through all of them. I don't know if we need to read the whole thing.
This is a long podcast as it is. Let's just
let's read a little bit, but you know, you can kind of paraphrase some of it. I'll start. Dale from Waxhaw. I'm gonna go in reverse order. 5, Diego Pounds. After watching Keithan and Tucker, 2 huge O linemen dominate one side of the line. Look forward to Pounds following in their footsteps. Uber athletic for his size, and look forward to him thriving after spending a season with Brian Hess. 4, May, highly ranked QB in UNC's backyard. Longest offense is only as good as the QB, and he's next in line. 3, Bryson Nesbitt provides a whole new dimension to Longo's offense. Able to fly by linebackers and overpower safeties, will be huge in the red zone. UNC needs a dynamic tight end, so it's exciting that maybe Nesbitt can provide that for the Tar Heels. 2, Dilworth. I think he'll be a popular choice. Elite playmaker in the Jabril Peppers mold. Cover all of the field. Combined with Conley, like I said, these guys will cover space from sideline to sideline. And number 1, Silver. Keyshawn Silver, defensive tackle. In order for the D-line to take the next step, there needs to be more beasts. Or even for the defense to take the next step, they need more beasts on the defensive line. You can pressure the QB and stop the run.
All right. I'm going to go with Ryan from Chapel Hill. He's has given us some interesting things with COVID these past year, really.
Interesting phrasing there, but yeah.
Well,
Ryan has not given us COVID.
No, no, he has not. He's given us information, not specific information, just the details of trying to fight this.
So sketchy the way you phrase that. Ryan works in the medical field at UNC.
Yeah, with COVID. Although he doesn't have COVID. And neither do we. Thanks to the plexiglass. All right, number 5, J.J. Jones. Number 4, Keyshawn Silver. Number 3, Caleb Hood. Number 2, Ra Dilworth. Number 1, Drake May. He's the future and will have a ton of weapons on the perimeter when he's ready to step in.
Some same names, some new names. And J.J. Jones was a new name in there, as was Hood. All right. This one did not have a name on it. Oh, Noah from Korea. Sorry. Noah from Korea always contributes. He's going chalk, he said. Start from the bottom. 5, Drake May. 4, Caleb Hood. I didn't start out too high on him, but keep hearing people on the pod talk about how dynamic he is. Really excited to see how Mac and Longo use him. Assume he's on offense and see how they use his unique skills. 3, Keyshawn Silver. I got really excited about him after listening to Wilt Fong drool over his potential. I love fast, powerful defensive linemen and mean offensive linemen. Paired with speed-based pass rushers, we're assembling Silver will be in a position to succeed. I can't wait to watch him. 2, Ra Dilworth. Kind of same stuff there, flying all over the field, making plays. And 1, Power Eccles. Kevin Reddick and Quan Sturman feel like years ago. I love getting a guy who is a known commodity you can bank on, playing that position for years. He sounds just like the prototypical middle linebacker, QB of the defense type of guy who will show up ready to pounce, ready to produce. He'll be a rock in the middle of the defense for a long time. It's a good answer.
All right. I'm going to go with Philip from Salisbury because he has no description. So this will be quick. And he also doesn't put it in order. So I'm assume that he has it in order.
Bottom to top.
Yes. So I'm going to go bottom to top. Caleb Hood, J.J. Jones, Power Eccles, Ranieria Dilworth, and Drake May.
Close out with Brent from Arizona. Okay, 5, Caleb Hood. After hearing Wilt Fong and Simmons talk about his potential, really excited to see him at running back. 4, Javari Ritzy. That size and only 2 years experience. Can't wait to see how he develops at UNC. Ra Number 3, in Bateman's system could be a real piece, a great piece that fills in the positionless system. 2, Keyshawn Silver. Any other year, he'd be number 1, freakish size and ability. And number 1 is Drake May. Have to have elite QB play to be competitive on this level. And here's the next great UNC QB. All right, year 5, Don. You go first.
All right. So my number 5, Drake May. And that's mostly because we're not going to see him for at least a year or two. But I am excited once he gets there because I really want to kind of see if his ability to dissect a defense translates to the ACC. Number 4, Keyshawn Silver. And there's a lot of guys that kind of fall into this category where tons of tools, toolsy, as they say. And I'm just eager to kind of see those tools in motion on the Power 5 level. Keyshawn is definitely the most toolsy of them. He has the size, he has the athleticism, he has the determination, a lot of strength, great footwork, on and on and on and on. Other guys that fit in this category, which aren't in my top 5. Gabe Stevens is another guy. There was one other, and I can't remember who it was off the top of my head. Number 3, Power Eccles. I mean, he's a guy who really is just so focused on the football field and just plays with this, this determination and this tenacity. And really he's not a rah-rah guy at all. He doesn't speak very much. He's actually very soft-spoken, but just commands the defense, even despite his lack of a voice, quote unquote. So I'm eager to kind of see that on the college level. And the other, Caleb Hood, this past year, I've always thought really highly of him because he has great athleticism. He's a hard worker. He's a great kid. I always love talking to him. But really this year, as far as our running back's concerned, I have just grown in admiration for just what he can do. And I really think he's going to be one of North Carolina's 2 running backs this fall. I really do. I think that he's just as prepared. If you want my vote, I'm saying J.J. Jones and Caleb Hood, and perhaps a transfer that you'll hear about before this podcast actually hits the airways. Last one, Rod Dewar. And I mean, there's maybe some bias in this, but this is a kid who, just to kind of give a quick story, everyone knows what I think about him as a player and everything. But this is a kid who actually reached out to me a long, long time ago. And usually it's the complete opposite. I reach out to a kid and that sort of thing, and wanted me to make a 24/7 profile, wanted me to help him get out there. I don't do any of that sort of stuff. I do make the profile, I do what I can, but I'm not a scout. I'm not one of those promoter types or anything like that. So every time he got an offer, I'd add it to his profile, and he would update me all these sort of things. And it was kind of neat for me to kind of follow his progression because he wasn't a big time kid for a very, very long time. And he really didn't blow up until after his junior season. And, Virginia Tech was his biggest offer during his junior year. And I can remember I watched his sophomore season. I liked it, but it wasn't like it didn't blow me away. And then when he started to kind of pick up some offers after his junior season, things really started to blow up. I was like, whoa, I got to go recheck this kid. And I watched his junior film, and I was just like, holy crap, super explosive, makes a lot of tackles. So I'm just eager to kind of continue to watch this kid's progression. I know I'm not supposed to be part of the story because I'm a journalist, but it's just hard for me in this situation. He's always a great kid. Anytime I needed something, some sort of help or whatever, he was always there. And I obviously got to cover his commitment and was part of that. Ross, who's your 5?
That was beautiful. All right, give me your 5 again. Give me the whole list.
Whole list. So this is 1 through 5. Robert Dilworth, Caleb Hood, Power Eccles, Keyshawn Silver, and Drake May.
Okay, cool. I got a little bit different answers. I'll throw them out there. I'm going to go, I'm going to switch with the order here. I just don't want to copy you. I'm going to go Nash 5. Just after talking to him, I like his mentality. I like big hitting, dog-like defensive backs. I think that's what UNC is. It's been a while since they had a really big hitting safety. So hopefully Nash can be that. And his versatility is exciting as well. I'll go Silver at 4. Big defensive lineman. I love defensive linemen. That's the key to a defense, as many people have said. And you've got to stack elite talent there. And Silver kind of continues that off the last 2 seasons. Ritzy right there with him. Athletic, dynamic, defensive tackle. I like the versatility of both those players, especially with Ritchie's athleticism. It's a key defensive line. We'll go rah-rah. 2, for many reasons you said. I mean, I think everybody's excited to see what he can do just because of his explosiveness at the linebacker position, and just interested in the intrigue and how Bateman uses him. So that's building the excitement for him. And then Caleb Hood, I think we're going to see him, like you said, maybe the earliest of any of them. And if the reports are true, from what you've reported and his athleticism and all that good stuff, dynamic power runner, that's what UNC needs to kind of get into the next set of running backs. He might be the man for a year or two here. So Caleb Hood. And that's it. So Nash, Silver, Ritzie, Rah-Rah, and Hood. We good?
We are good. Long podcast. Time to get off.
All right, guys. That's it. Appreciate you listening. Hopefully you enjoyed. We'll be back in 2 weeks with more scoop and probably a lot to talk about, given the breaking news that when you listen to this, hopefully you have that. We'll talk to you next time.